told you. This is Dr. Watson, the valued companion of celebrated Sherlock Holmes.
Who is more legend than alive? And still, they don't have any real authority here. They're just meddling and stirring everything up.
He's just a scribbler. I've read about Holmes and him. They live together and he writes stories about their adventures.
Who knows whether they are true? I mean, what really great detective would come running when she had the fantastic stories of confused little child?
Did you say they live together? Two men?
Well, they live in London. In London, all kinds of strange people get together, my father always says.
It is quite amusing to listen to you, but could we now return to the rather dangerous situation Lady Margaret may be in, and Dr. Wagner? Can you tell me anything about their disappearance?
Not really. Monday evening, Lady Margaret went to bed, and in the morning she was gone. Later, it was discovered that Dr. Wagner was gone too. That is all we know.
His bike was gone too.
That's true.
What is Lady Margaret from your point of view? Adventurous? Disobedient?
Boring. Intelligence was average. She showed some talent at lacrosse, but her father didn't want her to play it.
Indeed.
She was small and weak, but fast. She followed the rules.
Then why did she climb out of the window?
Who said she did?
Lady Anne?
And you believe
She
her?
lies when she opens her mouth to talk.
This I cannot say.
We know her better.
She would not lie to a teacher, of course, but she has a very lively fantasy, if you know what I mean.
What about yourself?
I do not understand.
Have you got any fantasy? Could you imagine what might have happened to a little girl who has been missing for 3 days?
Well, she won't be alone, will she?
It's quite obvious, isn't it?
Is it?
Oh man, I don't wonder if you're living with a man.
Do you imply a love affair?
But of course, she's run away with Wagner, probably to Gretna Green in Scotland. They will return married and her father will kill him. German teacher and the only child. The Duke of Poland is quite a scandal.
Then why is there only one bike missing? They couldn't get very far on one bike together.
Too simple for the big detective. Must make a big case of it.
Use your imagination, sir, to write stories. You must have some.
You will now excuse us. We have a dancing lesson to attend. Sir, miss.
Well, I say...
Wagner was not properly dressed when he left this room very quickly. Trousers and shirt, but no coat and no socks. Shoes on bare feet, very unpleasant. Then he took his bike. There's only one bicycle missing.
Only one.
Was he a good biker?
Not bad. He had a lot of exercise.
There are not many roads around here. If he rode his bike across the country, we could still find some tracks.
The Duke's men already followed all the tracks they could find. They assumed that Lady Margaret and Dr. Wagner ran away together, took the train in Crowborough and left from there to go wherever they wanted to. By now they could have left the country.
I don't think so.
Why?
If they had run away together, he would have made a plan. He would have taken his luggage. At least he would have dressed properly. No, something made him leave this room very fast and unexpected. The two cases are connected, but it's not love that connects them. Tell me, what do you see when you look out of this window?
Fields, meadows, a path leading to Holderness Hall.
Lady Margaret's home? How far is it?
5 miles, but she didn't go there. The Duke would have told
And
us.
I don't think so. And what is that wall on the left, about half a mile away?
That is Moran Manor, the ancestral home of Colonel Moran and his family. He has a high wall because he keeps all sorts of strange animals roaming freely on his grounds. A jungle monkey and a leopard, I think. Definitely several very big dogs, true monsters. One can hear them howl on full moon nights. He even allows gypsies to put up their camp on his fields. He's not very social. He doesn't visit us and he doesn't allow any visitors. He hates female schooling, he says.
Did you say Colonel Moran?
Yes.
Oh, Holmes, this is worse than I expected.
Yes, Watson. This is going to be more dangerous than even I expected. I'm afraid we must inform His Grace the Duke at once.
learned about this too late to avoid an unnecessary journey. It is neither prudent for a young schoolgirl to be traveling to unknown personalities in London, nor necessary for these personalities to come here and help us with trifles.
Just my position.
Miss Riggs, you know to what length his grace has gone to avoid any public scandal, so shortly before he is called into another high office. He prefers few people to be involved in this case.
But surely this can be resolved very quickly. If His Grace objects so much, Mr. Holmes can return to London by the earliest train tomorrow morning.
Excuse me if I interrupt you here, but this is hardly the case. The air out here is so refreshing and healthy that I intend to stay quite a while in the area. Whether you give me shelter or the local public house does not matter to me, but it is of course up to you to decide.
Mr. Holmes, how can you?
I agree with Miss Wilder that it might have been wiser to put all the children under lock and key after one of them has disappeared. If you had done so, Miss Riggs, then the little lady would never have reached Mr. Holmes. You must tighten security and discipline at your college. But now that he's here and involved, it would be most unwise not to use his services. He has a certain reputation, and even some of my dearest friends and colleagues have made use of his services occasionally. He can be discreet.
Of this I can assure you, Your Grace.
I would like you to be my guest at Holderness Hall. It offers far more comfort than the school.
Thank you for your kindness, but I think it's more helpful to stay at the scene of the crime for my investigations.
As you wish, Mr. Holmes. Of course, Miss Wilder will share all the information we got with you.
Thank you for your kindness and cooperation. I only wish everybody here was as cooperative. We might have recovered the missing girl already.
You cannot find or recover someone who does not want to be found.
This is why I have a different opinion. What have you done to find her?
We asked around the school, the local pub, the train station. We searched for tracks and hired a detective from Pinkerton's to make discreet inquiries.
What did you find?
Bike tracks that were leading across the fields toward Moran Hall and Holderness Hall. They simply ended when they came to a town road. We assumed that Dr. Wagner and Lady Margaret went away together. A man who was not fully dressed and a young girl were seen at the train station and retraced as far as Liverpool.
And then?
It wasn't Dr. Wagner, and the girl was a little old lady. It came out.
So you have wasted 3 full days and all you have is a theory with no facts to base it on?
We were very best.
Finding nothing. This is unbelievable. Irresponsible.
We had to be discreet. His Grace has returned to our public office.
It's nothing compared to the life of his daughter.
Mr. Holmes, you are of course right. My career is very important to me, but Margaret is my only child. She means everything to me.
Your Grace, may I ask you some questions? They may be painful, but believe me, they are necessary.
Ask.
What do you know about your neighbor, Colonel Moran?
I met him once at a hunting party. He shoots very well, shot more grouse than me. He doesn't talk much. We have little contact.
An honorable gentleman, but a bit conservative with regard to women's rights. He was not very happy about the opening of the college next door. Sent a few angry letters to all the neighbors and the school.
Insulting man, he once stormed into my study and shouted threats at me.
Demolished fences and threw in some windows, and maybe is responsible for painting on the school walls.
And
Later
he allowed-
radical.
And he allows gypsies on his ground. They are the only ones he seems to like. It frightens the girls who inform the police.
Oh, how nice to learn that there are some things that can move you to inform the official police force.
He's a dangerous man.
Might the gypsies have?
But of course, they were staying at his place 3 days ago and left on Tuesday afternoon.
And you didn't track them down?
Well, we followed this other track that led us to Liverpool.
Simpleton, you must always follow all the tracks.
I will call Pinkerton's at once.
Mr. Holmes, it may seem that you have set us on a new track again.
An old one and much too obvious. No, this will lead to nothing.
But you yourself said...
It's no good to jump to conclusions. Even Watson thought of the possibility. Every sensible person would have thought about the gypsies. But none of you did. The real question is why none of you thought about the gypsies. And the only possible answer is, Watson?
Well, they didn't jump to that obvious conclusion because, tell me if I'm wrong, Holmes, because they knew that the gypsies were harmless.
Right, but too short. There's only one reason why they may have known that the gypsies are harmless, and that is that you know what really happened with Lady Margaret, and that's also the reason why you didn't call in the police.
Well, Mr. Holmes, I must say you have strange ideas.
Not at all, it's the truth, isn't it, Your Grace?
It is not true.
You hesitate, and for a good reason, I presume. Your daughter was tricked out of college. Did you receive a letter on Monday, Miss Riggs?
Why, yes.
And
From the Duke.
Did you write anything that might have excited her?
Of course not. It was a harmless enough note telling her about my upcoming nomination as First Lord of the Admiralty.
And you posted it yourself?
Of course not, Mr. Holmes. Miss Wilder, my secretary, brought it over to the school for me. I do not post letters myself in person, Mr. Holmes. How perfectly ridiculous. I write about 30 and 40 letters a day.
Then it becomes even clearer. Your daughter was abducted and you are being blackmailed now. This is why you refuse to cooperate.
How perfectly ridiculous to quote my husband. Is that all your art, Mr. Holmes? Inventing stories from non-existent facts?
Mr. Holmes, allow me to introduce you to my wife, Sylvia, Duchess of Holderness.
Your Grace, it is not ridiculous.
But of course. My husband is a public personality. If he was being blackmailed, he would have called Scotland Yard at once. He is a loyal subject of the crown and an upright gentleman. What are you, Mr. Holmes? The second son of a country squire, as far as I know.
You are very well informed, my lady.
You come here uninvited and insult us by calling my husband a liar. Don't you think he would call in Scotland Yard? He would save his daughter immediately if you knew where she is. I did not believe at first what I've been told about you.
What has your ladyship heard of me?
It seems that it's true that you're Holmes, the busybody. Holmes, the meddler. Holmes, the Scotland Yard Jack in office.
Your ladyship does me too much honor. Will you let me know who informed you so well about me?
If you leave us when I've told you.
This I cannot promise, my lady.
Your Grace, Your Grace!
What happened?
They have found Dr. Wagner's body near Moran Hall, on a field under a bush.
What? Yes, sir. A body.
Is he dead?
Of course he is. His head has been beaten in.
What an ugly wound. Blunt instrument?
Certainly no accident. There wasn't a tree or anything like it on the field or near it. Only one hit. His opponent must have been incredibly strong.
Not strong enough.
What do you mean? He needed only one strike to kill him. One blow in the forehead.
If you killed a man on an open field, would you let him lie there where everybody might stumble over him? If you were really strong? Probably not. So the person who killed him took him by surprise. Probably he knew his killer.
Why?
The surprised look is still on his face. He was knocked down the front without raising even his arms. He must have known the killer very well. It took only one blow, which means that it must have been a rather long blunt instrument, which could be used with like a lever, and with which even a not so strong person could implement a deadly blow.
Maybe a walking stick?
Have you found anything in the wound?
Bits of wood. Not much to go on.
My dear Watson, would you please have a closer look?
Could have been one of them gypsies. They carry sticks and all sort of things. Would explain why they left so suddenly.
Don't they leave all the time? They're always traveling. Nothing suspicious about that. And if one gypsy had killed a man, the others would most certainly help to cover the traces, not let him lie there to be found under a bush.
Mr. Holmes, you're a good lawyer for defense. Always taking apart any theory. Have you got a theory of your own?
It's like a jigsaw. Some important pieces are still missing, but I'm getting ahead. I have a theory of my own, but it is much too early to advertise it. He was struck from above?
Yes, the strike hit him across the forehead, from the top left to the right eyebrow. It's a very deep cut, and there is something strange.
Strange?
If you care to have a closer look at the wound,
Constable. No, thank you.
there seems to be a pattern on his head, not very visible anymore. Do you recognize it, Mr. Holmes?
Looks like a cross pattern, like
a net, if you ask me. Now, where could he have fallen into the net before he was killed?
Perhaps not before?
Certainly not afterwards. There wasn't anything net-like on the field, near it.
The wooden pieces are most certainly not from a walking stick.
How do you know?
Have you ever seen a blue walking stick?
No. But what other stick could it then be that is blue?
Tell me, have you ever seen the Charlton's lacrosse team?
I am not into girl sports. And what has this got to do with our case?
I've seen some of the lacrosse rackets hanging in the school hall.
Yes, so have I. They are the school color. They are black and blue.